Let's go.
Hello, everyone. This is Don Cherry's Grapevine podcast. It's Sunday morning. We're here with all the Cherry family, most of us, and
Adele with the beard.
yeah, it's a scruffy look, Dad. That's the trend.
Look?
Yeah, it's a scruffy. It's not quite a beard and all. But so last night I was flicking through the television and there was the classic of Leafs versus Canadians.
And Matthews got 2 goals, and he does it from different spots. And after he scores, he points at Marner. And because Marner feathers that puck just perfect. And if you've noticed, all you kids out there, he doesn't hesitate. Bing! It's on the net.
And he doesn't hot dog it either. Is he American?
He's an American from Arizona.
And doesn't hot dog. That's pretty good, right?
Well, he did at the start.
Oh.
I had to straighten him out.
So the question is, Dad, is he going to get 50 goals this year?
No, I don't think he'd get 50. There's not enough games. And I like what he says when they ask him, well, they're going in now. He guy shoots. I mean, just has the knack. I just can't understand.
You know what though Marner and Matthews kind of remind me of is Brett Hull and Adam Oates.
Yeah, you remember that there? Brett Hull, what do you get, 72 goals?
Got 70, yeah, he got 60 goals one year, 70 goals next.
And Keenan was the general manager, and he wanted Adam Oates to hang around. Adam Oates leads the world in assists, and he was going to take a pay cut. He was going to give some of his money to keep Adam Oates, and Mike Keenan was the general manager. He said, no, he get rid of it. I think he went to Boston.
Adam Oates went to Boston, and Hull was never the same. He didn't. He just let him go.
Keenan was a tough coach, wasn't he?
He was tough everything. But anyhow, Matthews can score and from anywhere. And then Bossy used to score. He was a trigger man too, but he used to score from in front of the net. And he what he said was true. It's not as tough as in front of the net, but boy, I mean, tell a story, Tim, about. I think you were talking about the time you watched him in warm up in Colorado.
So, like maybe some of the people don't know Mike Bossy. They think he might have been the best pure goal scorer.
Yeah, he was
in hockey, and he was in Colorado, and the Rockies practiced first, and then the Islanders came on after, and then they practiced. It was a day of a game, so it was just like a late skate, and he took about 100 pucks, and he had it just kind of like inside the face-off circle, kind of at an angle, and he had his back to the net, and he just turned and fired the pucks. Like didn't just like turn around, snapped them like at the whole time.
Close in,
and he'd put the puck at different angles, so he had to go adjust. And he must have shot 100 pucks, and then that night I think he put 2 by Hardy right in the same spot.
Yeah, one hard.
Or just turn around, boom, in the net.
So he wasn't aiming for the crossbar like you were saying one time.
No, Rene Robert used to have a bad habit, like before practice. A guy skating around, he'd like to hear the ding ding, and I used to say, don't do that. I said, the puck comes to it, and he hit the post more than any guy I ever knew in my life.
Yeah, that last year in Colorado, I mean, I think he probably went on a streak. He probably hit 3 or 4 goal posts a game. It was just unbelievable.
And that was because he practiced.
No, I used to say, why shoot because he used to like to hear the ding. Rene Robert, he's played in the French line.
French Connection, yeah.
No, French Connection.
Remember the story about him? Because you and him were pretty good friends with
we were
Rene.
good friends.
He used to go over to the house. And the French Connection, oh my goodness, they were all good looking. Gil Perreault, who was it? Gil Perreault, Rick Martin,
yeah.
And Rene. So you told Rene, well, when Mom and I were there, that Mom and I thought Rick Martin was the best looking guy out of the whole French Connection. And Dad, I think his feelings really were hurt. And it was
he was better looking than...
He was, but it was embarrassing to Mom and I. I mean, he goes, do you really think he's better looking than me? Well, you're better looking than Gilly Gilbert. It was funny.
Remember he came in with some friends, and my first blue was just gorgeous.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And my first blue only liked 2 people. He liked Whitey Smith from Rochester.
Schmotzy. He liked Schmotzy.
Well, I kind of like Schmotzy, but Bobby Schmotz, he liked Schmotzy, but he liked Rene Robert. Really liked Rene. I don't know, it must have been his aftershave or something. And he came in the house with three friends, and he snapped his fingers. And Blue, as soon as he heard his voice, Blue came out of the dining room. He used to have bed, used to be over there, and come in and as soon as you heard his voice, and he snapped his fingers. I know we're not getting away. It's not hockey. But he snapped his fingers, and she looked at me and said, who the heck is this guy? I think he is snapping his fingers at me.
Can I tell you a quick story about snapping fingers, Tim? Remember when we were filming the movie, and Jared, who played you in the movie, he was trying to get the puck. There was a scene in the movie where he's trying to get the puck from Blue. And I was sort of quality control and knowing what would upset you. And Jared was snapping his fingers at Blue, on, drop it. And I said, okay, cut. I said, I just can't let Jared have and snapping his fingers to Blue. Dad would just get too upset. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, no one snaps his fingers at Blue. So it was funny.
Well, there's no doubt Marner is playing good and Matthews is playing good, but let me tell you something. If you don't have Freddie Anderson, who I think is the best goaltender in the NHL, which I think in the world, if you don't have a goaltender, you got nothing. And I was looking in the paper today. Can I just read this, Tim?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. The Canadians outshot the Leafs, and they lose. You got that?
Yeah.
The Sharks win 5-4 over the Blues. The Blues outsuit the Sharks. You got that so far? The Penguins beat the Islanders. This is for Saturday. And the Islanders, they outshoot the Pittsburgh. In the first period, it was 16-4. If you don't have a goaltender, you got nothing. I can't. I mean, the Sabres beat the Devils. And that was a good game, and I'm so happy just to jump in, I cheer for Buffalo all the time. I don't know why, but I cheer for Buffalo. I think Eichel and all that, and Kruger, the coach, is having a tough time.
So then let me ask you then, with the goalies being so important.
No, wait a minute, I'm not through yet.
I thought you were.
No. The Rangers beat the Capitals, and Washington outshoots them. So far, how am I doing so far? The Red Wings beat the Florida Panthers, and get this one. The Panthers, Florida, outshoots them 16-9 in the third period, and they still win, the goaltenders. And the Kings beat the Coyotes, and they outshoot them. So what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to get through to you, if you don't have a goal...
Even last night, again, this is Sunday morning, Calgary outshot Edmonton almost... I think it was at the end of the second period, it was 33 shots for Calgary and 18 for Edmonton, and Edmonton was winning 6-1.
If you don't have a goaltender, you've got nothing. I don't care. Show me, as I've said many times before, show me a good coach, and I'll show you a good goalie. And Scotty Bowman, he always went to the team. I don't know how he did it to his career. So he always went to the team that had good goalie.
So why don't they, you look at who teams draft and everything, why don't they ever draft, like if you're going to build your team around a goalie, why don't they ever draft goalies that are coming up?
Because goaltenders never, you take that kid in Chicago, what's this kid, Kevin Lanigan. He's 7-2-3 as we talk Saturday morning. He takes him, he's 25 years old, he probably, if he keeps going, he'll be Rookie of the Year. He was in Rockford in the American Hockey League. And,
that's why they don't draft them high, because it takes
you never know.
5, 6 years, 7 years for them to kind of...
Because they always seem to trade for good goalies. They never seem to draft good goalies, any of these teams.
But if that guy keeps going, he'll be rookie.
So let me ask you another question. With, these teams are being outshot and everything, is there such thing as the goalie sort of falls asleep back there and gets cold?
No.
No?
I don't know
it
what
doesn't
happens.
apply?
Don't ask me. Don't ask me about goaltenders. They're the flakiest people.
Yeah, but I think the one thing, Dad, we were talking about the other day, too, is if there's kind of a surprise in the league right now, it's Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Tell about that guy. He learned in the American Hockey League, too. How do you pronounce his name?
Jeremy Colleton. He spent 4 years coaching overseas, and then he went to Rockford in the American Hockey League.
Yeah.
And
where's he from? He's Blackie,
Alberta.
Blackie, Alberta. But anyhow, this guy, you'll have Rookie of the Year if the other guy keeps going, and you'll have Coach of the Year. This guy's got to be Coach of the Year because they started out pretty bad.
As you said, Patrick Kane seems to be...
Oh, Patrick, he's interested. And when he's interested, look out, he was the smallest little guy.
So I'll ask you, Dad, you saw him at 18 years old.
Unbelievable.
Right? And you saw Mitch Marner at 18 years old. We saw him Marner at 15, watch him play. But who was smaller, Kane or
Kane was the smallest guy. I remember he come up. You know how they have them hockey night in Canada. They have the kids come up, and I don't know. He come up alone. He was standing there. He could have been 6 inches wide, and I thought this guy's going to play in the National Hockey League. And he was a cocky little guy. He's American, eh?
I used to love when you used to do that. You go up in the stands and talk to the
Yeah.
picks coming up and all.
Yeah, the kids could be all nervous.
And I love the questions you ask. What's your favorite car? What's your
Yeah.
favorite meal? It's interesting. Human
Yeah,
interest.
before the game, it was interesting. It was interesting back in those
You
days.
didn't analyze it to death.
No, I just asked him. But he
Interesting
was the
questions.
smallest guy, and I thought he was a stick boy. What is this little guy standing? He was all by himself. And
yeah. So the funny thing is, like,
Marner was small, but I mean,
yeah, like we've seen a lot of really good hockey players because you and I have been scouting for about 15 years, and you own the Ice Dogs.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of really smart hockey players who
They're
were
all small.
who were really small.
if they survive.
Yeah, so Kane or Marner were one, and like Marner he had to be like maybe 5'6" when he got drafted.
He was so small, he used to put his sweater in the back like Dougie Gilmore.
Yeah, because it hang
was
down
too
below his legs. But I remember one guy that we drafted, a kid named Stephen Donnelly. With the Ice Dogs. I think
he was really small, though.
he was a little bit.
He had a bulldog. He had a bulldog.
But I think he was the smartest hockey player.
This guy at center ice, what they used to, you couldn't touch him. And I still think I should have kept him. I know he was small. What was his name again?
Steve Donnelly. He played for the Mississauga Reps, and he went and played the junior in the provincial league, and he got like almost a point a game.
Yeah, I should have had. I should have kept him because I thought he was the smartest guy, and we didn't keep him.
So tell us, Dad, what's the difference between smart and talented?
That's pretty good. Smart. I don't know. I don't know. Talented and smart. Smart. You've got it upstairs. I mean, talented. You can be talented and not
Comes
know what
natural.
you're doing.
Yeah, it comes natural.
You come natural. But smart, you got it upstairs. And these kids were smart. Marner was smart like that way.
Dan Rudisella, remember Dan Rudisella? He was a walk-on for the Ice Dogs. He was small and.
Tell him how you got it. Wasn't it Mom's hairdresser or someone that?
No, it was Elliot Kerr's next door neighbor.
Yeah.
And he said, can you come on? And it was one of the owners. Can you come on? So I go, well, the owner asked the kid come on, and he put him with Patrick O'Sullivan.
Yeah, and so now he's walking out with his equipment. I'll never forget this.
Right, but so we're watching him and go, boy, this guy can really skate.
Gets a hat trick.
He gets a hat trick.
So I sat in with Patrick Sullivan, who was a pretty cocky guy. We won't go any farther. And I said, here he comes. I says, he's so small that, how am I going to keep him? I says, but he did get a hat trick. Sullivan says, yeah, he get a hat trick with me. But we kept him, and I said he was the most, and he became the most popular player we had.
And became captain eventually.
He became captain. He was, and his favorite movie was Rudy.
Rudy.
Yeah, Rudy. And he was just a little guy.
And then there was the other guy I remember who was small, who made the OHL. All London Knights guys, eh? Like the Hunters, they don't mind, as Dan Ehrlich, I think his name was. Remember?
And he come out and shook my hand, and he half dressed. And he was the guy that I went to, Mark Hunter, and I said, why don't you draft this guy? This guy, he says he's too small. I said, yeah, but he's playing against guys that he's going to be playing against next year.
What's funny is that he was a London Knight, and Marner was a London Knight, and Kane was a London Knight.
Was it? I never realized all that.
Yeah, but I remember.
But the guy, remember, Tim? Can I tell a story? I'll tell a story. Okay, we're in Oshawa, Tommy and Chris
Thaler,
and I said, I just love this guy, Chris Thaler, and so I'm sitting there, and Tim, they're sitting up back of us. The scouts are sitting up back of us, and I said, this guy's going to change. This guy's going to go from center ice. He's going to go over to the right-hand side. He's going to have a fight. And he's just a little guy. Sure enough, he has the fight. And I said, I'd like to have that guy. So make a long story short, we go, we might as well. I think we got him 8th, didn't we, or something?
Yeah, we got him pretty late.
We did. Let's keep Don happy. He was the smartest guy. He could get draws. He could kill penalties, and he had the heart of a lion. Chris Thaler, I'll never forget him.
He was a good guy too. I remember Dell. I don't know if Dell remembers. He was going to play lacrosse, and Chris Thaler gave him a lacrosse stick. And I still, Dell, I
I
was in
didn't
your
know that.
garage the other day, and I still see it there, right? Because we used to shoot the tennis ball for the dogs with
Boy,
it.
he was a great kid. I wonder, I good contact with me now. We're both. I wonder what he's doing now. But he was the smartest guy we ever had, and the best guy. And he killed
Remember he
penalty.
got in a fight, and the first thing, it was
Well,
awful.
we had it was our training camp with the Ice Dogs, and he gets into a fight with a guy named Matt Coughlin,
Who was how tall?
who was really tall, and
Matt's
Matt,
a policeman now.
Yeah,
Oh.
he was a policeman now, right out, and
Yeah.
and broke Chris's jaw
In training camp.
In training camp,
Nice.
but I got to tell a quick story. I know we're getting off the thing. We got a couple of things, but Matt Coughlin, because it was like a little cherub, right? Matt Coughlin, and when he used to play,
Rosy cheeks.
his cheeks would get rosy, like it was unbelievable. So the Ice Dogs, we were kind of having a tough time. We were up in Owen Sound, and we had a couple of fights, and it was a close game, and we had a couple of fights, and there was about 5 minutes to go in the game, and they got a couple of goals, and they were acting like goose. They're jumping around, and the only thing it was Sean Avery was one on in that
Yeah,
team, I think.
I remember him.
And
I was.
so there was a face-off, and Scott Page, who was our captain, he dropped the gloves with their tough guy and really gave it to him.
Yeah,
so,
I remember.
And so now, now Owen sounds mad, right? So this one guy was pretty tough. He says, well, I'm gonna go, and he goes, I'll go with that Matt Coughlin, because he was kind of thin,
Yeah.
and he had rosy cheeks. He looked like a little cherub, and Matt could really fight.
Yeah, he could. He was good.
He was a left-hander, and he could really fight. And Matt Coughlin just cleaned this guy's clock.
This is
And you
how-
can see the guy look and say, "What happened? Like this kid looks like he's."
He's a baby face.
Yeah. Well, we won't get into what what that guy did. But St. Mike's guy knocked all his teeth
No.
out. We won't get
Well,
into
who
that.
was it? It was
I don't know if it was. It was either Keefe or Jefferson. One
Yeah.
of them that did it.
Tim, I'd like to also talk about, around the National Hockey League. Henry Lundqvist had open heart surgery, and he's 38 years old, and he was running, and Washington signed. He was with Washington. They signed him, and he had that. Galyanchuk, the guy that plays when he wants to play, Leafs got him. And if if he wants to play, he got 30-some goals. If you get him in the right frame of mind, looks like Keefe can do it. Florida missed the playoffs 5 years in a row. They're 9-2-2. This is Saturday night. Their general manager made some good moves at Bill Zito. But I think the guy that does it is Quenneville. Quenneville's there. He just took a couple of years to get his thing. But
You had
Huberdeau
him, Quenneville, you had him in Colorado, didn't
had
you?
him in Colorado.
As
He
a
was
player,
a
yep.
defenseman. He came along with he was the spare tire that came along with Lanny McDonald.
Oh, isn't that a nice term?
And he used to play with Mike Kitchen, and him and Mike Kitchen were
Yeah.
good pals.
Well, that's not very nice.
And John Gibson is the goaltender, and he's doing a great job. Kitchener Rangers. He played for the Kitchener Rangers. So I just had going around the knee, and I'm going to tell you right now, if that Lannigan keeps going, he'll win Rookie of the Year. And Rockford. Now it was Chicago. You were mentioning about it. Tell us the story.
Okay, I'll give you guys a quiz, trivia, and then I'm gonna talk about our sponsors and then see if you know. There was a guy who played for Dad, who played for Chicago, he was the last player to score 50 goals in 50 games, okay? And he was the only player to get over 40 goals and still get 300 minutes in penalties.
How many minutes?
He had 44 goals, 300 minutes in penalties, and 26 fights. So you guys think about that.
1 year.
In 1 year. So 1 year, 81-82, he had 44 goals, 75
Chicago.
points, 300 minutes in penalties, and 26 fights. So I'll see if the audience knows. So we just want to thank our sponsors, Spreads.ca, a First Nations owned online casino and sportsbook. And you know how we're making money on that, Dad? You can bet prop bets. So you bet if if like Marner's going to score or McDavid's going to score
Yeah.
or Matthews going to score. So I just keep saying, yeah, Matthews and McDavid are going to score, and you win all the time.
Well, they always play.
Right. So it's tailored for Canadians. Sign up now and enter the promo GRAPES, and they will match your deposit up to $500, and you get a $25 sports bet. So that's
Pretty good.
spreads.ca. So the guy we're talking about, 1 year, he had 44 goals, 75 points, 300 minutes and penalties, and 26 fights. And the next year, this guy played for Dad in Chicago, had 54 goals, 86 fights, 180,
No, how many fights? No, not.
180 penalty minutes, 86 points, 180 minutes, and 15 fights. So in those 2 years,
50. Yeah.
in those 2 years, he had 98 goals, 152 points, 448 penalty minutes, and 41 fights.
Imagine what
Wilf
he'd be.
Paymont.
He good guess though.
guess, though, yeah.
I
That-
came off the top. That's the only. That's,
Yeah, we know. I know who
not
it is.
Lanny,
I know
obviously.
who it is. I know who it is. It's Al Secord.
Oh, jeez.
Okay,
Should have known that.
Can you,
And-
can you imagine that? Like, you may want to say
Oh,
that's the
Secord, I
greatest
shoulda
2
guessed
years
that.
ever in the National Hockey League.
You don't come. Well, Gretzky outside of Gretzky.
Well, how many
Yeah,
how many
that's
how many
true.
fights did Gretzky have? He had 98
Yeah.
goals
Yeah,
in,
come to
in
think
2
of it.
years, 98 goals in 2 years, and 41 fights.
And he's a pilot now.
And he we have for the American Airlines. He's a pilot, but you had him in Boston, and you remember in training camp.
Oh yeah, I had him at training camp. We had an exhibition game, and the rookies, they always have a rookies, and you never saw us anything. We're way up high watching. And
So it was Boston and Philadelphia rookies back in 70. Would have been 78.
And you never saw such fights in your life. And Bobby Clark, I don't know what he's doing there, but he's there. He's still playing, but he's still there. And we almost got into it right up like it was
You and him
unbelievable.
almost were throwing punches.
Yeah, and it was really good. I mean, imagine Al Secord what he'd be worth today. Imagine.
Well, tell him. Okay, so Al was when he scored that 58 goal or 54 goals, and that was 84-85. That's the last time a player who didn't have a helmet scored 50 goals. Now, tell him how he didn't wear a helmet.
Oh,
Why he didn't wear a
Oh,
helmet?
Why he didn't wear a helmet?
you know, I hope his mom and dad listen to this shoe day. Oh, I never was so scared. We're playing Toronto, so he had a big pumpkin head. He really did have. He had a head like Terry O'Reilly, like a great
Or
big,
tie.
Or tie, yeah. Oh yeah. So
He wore a helmet then.
yeah, he wore a helmet. So I said to him, like a fool. I had to be a fool. None of us wore helmets at the time. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you don't wear a helmet in Toronto, a hockey night in Canada, I'll start you and I'll play you every power play. Not awful.
What motivation?
Yeah. So and he
So it probably
started
took him about 2 seconds, right?
doing forget the helmet.
So were you a little worried?
We were in Toronto, hockey night in Canada, and they played the national anthem, and he's at center ice, and he's doing the whole deal, and power play. And he gets into a fight, and a guy named Dave Hutchison. You remember Dave Hutchison? Boy, he was a big, tough guy. And he gets into a fight with him in the corner. I can still see it now. He's in the corner. I said, oh, dear God. And Hutchison's doing pretty good. And I says, oh, boy. I said, you know, I
Were you going to send the guys over?
I said, we're going to go, guys, because he's going to get killed here. The rookie and his mom and dad are there, and where is he from?
Espanola, Ontario.
And I asked him not to play with a helmet, and Hutchison just giving it to him. And all of a sudden, he catches Hutchison with the left, and he's a left-hander, right? Catches him right on the jaw. And I told the guys, get ready. And then when he hit him with he could really fight. Yeah. And the thing is about Secord, he was even as a kid. But I'll never forget how afraid I was if he had got hurt. Imagine he got hurt with no helmet.
We
And,
probably would have told people too.
and no, he wouldn't have said anything. He was a
No?
good guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
good.
So he's the only player to ever score 40 goals and have over 300 minutes and penalties. But looking that up, you know what the other one I really found strange, Dad, was there was only one player that had scored over 30 goals and had over 300 minutes and penalties. And I would never have guessed he got 35 goals. And it was Tiger Williams.
Tiger Williams got 35 goals.
Got 35 goals, 81-82 with Vancouver.
Holy!
Like you never would have thought.
With Vancouver,
With
no
Vancouver,
less.
yeah.
Gee, I never. Remember, I remember. You know, I remember a lot about Tiger. I remember one time there was a big brawl going on, and Terry O'Reilly was on top of him, and he says, "Put your head under my shoulder." He says, "I'm not." He's put your head under his shoulder. He says, "Why?" He says, "Cash is going to kick you in the head." Anyhow, I remember. The thing I remember, he used to ride the stick. He only did that.
He did that once. You know who prompted him to do that?
Who?
Schmatzy, Bobby Schmatz.
Oh, was it?
Who rolled the stick?
Tiger got traded, went to Vancouver, and his first game back in Toronto, he scored. Oh. And he rode this. He kind of got on a stick and he rode it like a thing, and it was. They said
must show that about 50 times.
Yeah.
But I remember him like we were watching the game, and he got a penalty, and it was an overtime, eh?
Right. So it was in the later 70s, and it was Montreal versus Toronto in the quarterfinals, and
he got a board like it was in the overtime.
Yeah. So it went to overtime in Toronto.
Nothing. It was a nothing board. Like it was nothing. Like it was just rubbed the guy, and he got a penalty.
No.
And when you got a penalty against Montreal in those days,
yes, we know.
Well, as we know, and they were the greatest team of all time. What did he lose 8 games all year? If you got a penalty against them in overtime, they were going to score, and sure enough, they scored. And Tiger went absolutely bananas after, eh?
Yeah.
And the only reason he stopped, one of the reasons he stopped, Larry Robinson, the first time and only time I ever saw, he went and grabbed him. They all grabbed him. And who was the referee?
Bob Myers was the referee.
Oh, your favorite.
And Bob Myers. And it just happened that Bob Myers had the game where it was too many men on the ice. Well, which we deserved. We deserved that one. But I'll never forget him calling a penalty on John Rattel for high sticking. John Rattel for high sticking. He says, Don. He said, Donnie, all I did was protect myself, but Well, anyhow, never mind. But Tiger Williams came 35 goals. I never thought he got 35 goals.
Yeah, he got 35 goals. So there you go, Al Secord. Everybody, I just think that would be the 2 greatest years back to back.
Do you know, remember, Dad, you always talk about his cousin used to work for me with the Groommobile. Do you remember that? It was, remember you said that there was a girl that came over to the house and she had those 2 Afghan dogs that were going crazy?
Yeah, goofballs.
That was his cousin.
Oh, yeah?
That had the Afghans in the car going crazy.
I remember we come out and I was taking Blue for a walk and we walked by the car and the 2 Afghans went nuts.
They just went insane.
And Blue looked up at me and said, "What is like
really? Afghans?
Yeah, Afghans. They went nuts, eh?
Yeah.
Anyhow, I just before we go, and I know we're getting close. I have to say, the gloves they wear now, and here I am with the gloves again. But you'd think the owners would get together. Simmons, he's out with the thumb now. What is he out with? 6 weeks.
Wayne Simmons, broke his thumb, and it was just a clearing. Like it wasn't like he blocked a shot. He was just kind of going up, and the guy fired the puck out, and it hit him in the glove.
Gloves
and broke his thumb.
You can't believe the gloves we used to wear. And Gretzky did pretty good with big gloves. And Bobby Orr, the greatest hockey player who ever lived, had big gloves too. Derek Ryan of Calgary, he's out. I mean, imagine the money that's costing. We have Peter Mazarek with the Canes, the goalie. Well,
that doesn't count.
We don't count that.
But still, though, it broke his thumb.
Kirby Doc, good little player for the Hawks. He was a good little player. He was having a good year.
He was the one. He did his wrist in the World Juniors.
Remember that?
Oh, right.
He had he had the short gloves, and he popped his wrist.
And Brandon Dubininski for the Blue Jackets. He's got a broken thumb. And Simmons, he's out. And the latest guy is Jacob Tuba. He's out now with a broken thumb. The gloves are like kid gloves now. I mean, and you'd think the owners would say everybody wears a protective on there, but they don't. They do it after they break a hand or something. I just can't believe the gloves. And when I'm watching the games, I see the little wee gloves.
And they're short too. They don't.
Short.
Not only do they not protect the thumb,
and
the wrists too. Yep. They're short.
They'll never
tell a story about Bobby Orr and his gloves.
Oh yeah,
that's unbelievable. When you told me that.
Bobby Orr used to have gloves that look. I never looked at them, But he used to have like a glove sewn on on the outside of his gloves. That's how he could handle the puck so good.
So it was almost like he cut the palm out.
Yeah,
and then put almost like a golf club or something.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
you know who saw that? And Park did it. Brad Park, another great defenseman. I had both of them. And so you want me to tell what happened to his gloves and everything?
Yes, I wasn't going to ask if you wanted to say.
Well, I will, but so I saw his
We
gloves.
talk a lot at the golf tournament. We talk about a lot of stuff,
So
killing
I
time.
went to him and I said, well, where's all your equipment? And he said, I threw it out. You threw it out, all the equipment. He used to have special, and he saw the cat peed in it. One of his cats peed and he threw it out. Hey, why didn't you get it cleaned or something?
Yeah.
Do you know what I could get that for an auction now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had gloves, he had everything, and the cat peed on his gloves.
Yeah, nice.
So we'll wrap it up now, Dad. And so just the thing. So the last question, everybody's talking. Do you think Matthews is going to get 50 goals?
Well, he'd get 50 goals. It was a regular season, but I don't think he'll get 50 goals. Because he says he's pretty good, and he says they're going in now. He's shooting. I can't believe that everything he shoots goes in. No, I don't think he'll get 50 goals. I don't think there'll be enough games.
He's the one thing, like watching him last night when he scored on Carey Price, the first one. I remember you were talking to Phil Esposito, and you said, Phil, what's the trick of, because I think of the one player that kind of gets lost in NHL history of great goal scorers is Phil, because
76 goals.
Because he broke all those barriers. And stuff.
And then he got 65. He got 76 goals. And then the next year he got 65 goals, Phil Esposito. And they said, well, you had a bad year. 65 goals. You know what Phil said? We'll end with what he said. They were saying, Phil, you don't look when you shoot. He says, and Bossy, that story of Bossy is pretty good too. Well, the net hasn't moved in 100 years. I don't think it'll move for me.
Yeah. Well, that's what he says. It's not how hard your shot is. He says it's not how accurate it is. It's how quick you get it off your stick. And that's what he said.
And Matthews, right now, boy, the only guy, the greatest hockey player playing today is McDavid. There's no doubt about that. But boy, I tell you, there's no shooter in the hockey today like the way he gets off the puck is like Matthews.